Hey everyone, my name is Jessie Jennings and I'm a content creator here at Plaid, and welcome to Craft Break. Today I'm showing you one of my favorite crafts to do, which is decoupaging with napkins using Mod Podge. So 'tis the season, we're going to be crafting on pumpkins today, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for Mod Podging with napkins. So if you're new to Mod Podge, napkins are one of the most fun and easy things to use when you're Mod Podging. And if you've been Mod Podging for a long time, I'm sure you're super familiar with this craft, but we have some really fun, bright ideas here to share with you today. So what's so great about Mod Podging with napkins is that you get these awesome printed looks without having to do any painting. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to paint, or you just want your craft to be a little quicker, this is a really great craft for you because you get these beautiful hand-painted printed looks without having to do all of the work. So it's super easy. If you can find the napkin you like, you can make the pumpkin you like. Another great thing about Mod Podging with napkins is that it works with so many of our Mod Podge formulas. You can use it on glasses with dishwasher safe. You can put it on shoes with fabric. You can put it on birdhouses with Mod Podge outdoor. Of course, matte, satin, and gloss. You can use any of those formulas. Napkins work with almost all of our Mod Podge formulas. Today, though, I'm going to be using one of our brand new formulas, and this one is called Mod Podge Super Matte. And just like the name, it is just super matte. It's even matter than our normal matte Mod Podge. So when you Mod Podge with our normal matte formula, it still looks as though it's been sealed, which a lot of people really like that look. You get a slight sheen, nothing like our satin or gloss, but it looks as though you've sealed the pumpkin. With Mod Podge Super Matte, it doesn't even look like there's any Mod Podge on your surface at all. Just looks like it's completely gone. So if you really like that super, super matte look, I'm gonna say super about 1,000 times, then this is a really good formula for you. Also, I always forget to mention this, we have Steven here in the studio. So please, if you have questions or comments, or you're making something at home with Mod Podge, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and pop those in the chat.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got people saying hello. We've got our very own Sherry Ragsdale saying
hey,
hello.
Sherry.
So we're happy to have you guys here. We are on Facebook and on YouTube, so I'll be reading everybody's comments. If you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, please do. Okay, so like I said, Mod Podging with napkins is super fun and it's super easy. It's a really quick and satisfying craft. So we made this one here. You can see we did a cute cheetah print napkin. So again, that's like kind of the fun of it. If you have a party, save a couple napkins, put it in your craft room for the next time you're Mod Podging. Or it's really fun to look out for them. They have great napkins at so many different stores. And this is probably 1 or 2 napkins. It doesn't take much to make such a pretty project, but they have so many beautiful napkins these days. This is a really fun way to kind of hang on to those and keep them. This is one of my favorites, actually. I love this napkin. I think it's like very kind of like retro floral looking. But it looks like a printed pumpkin, but we just used Mod Podge and napkins. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to Mod Podge onto this pumpkin here. All you need is your pumpkin, your napkins, of course, some scissors, and the Mod Podge of your choice. Again, we're using a super matte today. So Steven, I'm going to let you select which napkin we choose.
Ooh, let me hold them up so I can see them.
We have this pretty like little blue floral here. Okay. We have this purple watercolor. This like big bold floral with, it's got some like metallic on it, or this cute pastel cheetah print.
I kind of like the purple one.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, you know me too well.
I know you. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to Mod Podge this really pretty, almost watercolor looking napkin onto our pumpkin here. So the first thing you wanna do is you wanna prep your napkin. And to do that, you wanna open it up. And then every napkin has plies. And what I mean by plies is the layers of the napkin. Almost always there's gonna be 3 plies. Sometimes you're gonna open a napkin, you're gonna be like, no, I'm certain there's only 2 plies. I can only find 2. But keep looking, because I can almost guarantee you, like 95% of the time, there is a 3rd ply there. And you wanna make sure you remove that. Of course, we only want the top printed layer, the layer that has the pattern on it. And the reason is, if you Mod Podge your napkin onto your surface without removing all of the plies, air bubble gets trapped between those layers, and it causes bubbles and wrinkles on your project. So you want to make sure you get all of those plies off. I just kind of snipped the edge there to help me find a gap in between. Another trick you can do to separate your plies is to get some double-sided tape and to kind of like grab it and pull them away from each other. So there you see, There's the secret ply. It was hard to get, but there's almost always 3 plies.
They tried to trick us, you know.
I know, they try to trick us, but I'm telling you guys, if you Mod Podge, if you say, oh, I only have 2 plies, and then you Mod Podge your project and you have bubbles, I bet you there was a 3rd ply.
Jessie, Sarah on our YouTube stream has a good idea and says, if you do a group craft party and everyone brings a pack of napkins, you can trade and get new styles at the party.
I love that idea. That is such a fun idea. I've even heard of Facebook groups where you can trade napkins. So like you collect napkins yourself and then people will just like mail each other like 1 or 2 of their own napkins that they found. So you can just collect and have this like really great collection of Mod Podging napkins.
That's awesome.
But the party is such a good idea. That's so fun. Okay, so now we've opened up our napkin. And at this point, there's a couple different ways you can Mod Podge onto your pumpkin. You can use the whole print, and I'll show you how to apply it. Or if you have something that's more like this one, and you want to cut out the different shapes on here, you can do that as well. And then you can piece them onto your pumpkin however you want. You can change the pattern, you can keep it the same. It is entirely up to you. So now's the time you would either cut up your napkin or not. It's your call. So I'm going to cut this just a little bit. So it makes it a little more manageable because my pumpkin's kind of small and I don't think I'll need it this big. So I'm just going to cut it right down the middle.
I think I picked the right one because everybody really seems to like the purple.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. And I'm going to cut this stripe off. And although it's pretty, when I go to wrap it on my pumpkin, I feel like it's going to do weird stuff. So I'm not going to include the stripe. I'm just going to go with this like organic pattern.
Yeah, it's a really straight line to wrap around it.
I don't think it's going to wrap very pretty.
Right.
Which is something to keep in mind. Sometimes it can be hard to do patterns that are geometric, like plaids and things like that. Totally doable, but it sometimes can be a little trickier because you can't really puzzle it together any way you want. You'll be able to see where the inconsistencies are at the end of your project. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so now's the fun part. So now I'm going to grab my Mod Podge. Again, I'm using super matte because I love that matte look. I've got my, this is sad. I've got my handy dandy Mod Podge brushes. You can find these on plaidonline.com. And I'm going to start applying Mod Podge to my pumpkin. I'm not going to put it on my napkin because if you do that, you're going to have a big clumpy mess. You want to apply it right onto your pumpkin. And I'm going to go in fairly small areas because I don't want my Mod Podge to dry by the time I go to apply my napkin. But you don't want to go in too small of areas because that can make it kind of tricky. So I'm doing about 1/4, I would say, of this small pumpkin here. So like the top half of one side. Hopefully that makes sense. You know what, actually, I changed my mind. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to do about 1/2 of my pumpkin. You want to put enough Mod Podge on so it's all really well coated. You don't want to miss any spots, but you don't want to have it so thick where it's just going to completely saturate your napkin. You don't want lumps and globs. You just want a perfectly thin coat. Okay, so now I'm going to hold my napkin up. I'm going to try to lay my pumpkin down here. I'm going to balance it between 2 pumpkins. There we go. I'm going to lay my napkin down onto my pumpkin. Oop, don't roll away. And I'm going to press down in the middle, and I'm going to slowly apply it on either side. So once the napkin touches the Mod Podge, it starts to get really delicate. So it's delicate to begin with, but once it gets wet, then it gets really, really delicate and easy to tear. So you want to be very gentle at this point. I want to make sure I get into all the ridges of my pumpkin. If you notice, I'm not doing the top and bottom yet. I only press down on the center part. And that's because I'm going to cut little snips in here to help me fold it over that round area. Almost like if you're somebody who does sewing, almost like making darts in fabric, so that it'll lay more flat over a round pumpkin. Just like you would do in clothing to fit someone's body shape, we're doing it to fit our pumpkin shape. Make sure it's touching all the way on the edge, all around the middle, and I'm pressing really gently. I'm making sure my fingers are dry, because if your fingers are wet with Mod Podge, you can pull up your napkin and cause tears, which is not the end of the world. It's very easy to fix, but we're going to try to avoid it anyway. Okay, so I cut my darts. So now I'm going to start pressing down the top area and just kind of form fit this to my pumpkin. It's going to overlap itself in some places, which is okay. And that's because, of course, we're putting a flat item onto a round one, so it's gonna happen. But we'll just try to make it as neat as possible, just like we're wrapping a present. We'll try to press down some of those wrinkles. And do the same thing on the bottom, really gently with dry hands, pressing down. If there's any bubbles, go ahead and press those. I'm doing like a tapping. You can probably hear me hitting this pumpkin. I'm just gonna press it all the way down. Wherever there's big wrinkles, you can just press with your finger and that'll help make it a little lower profile. Flatten out this top part. You just kind of want to pull it as taut as you can without tearing your napkin, of course.
And you know, some designs you can kind of get away with tearing napkin.
Yeah.
Like you can see the one to the left of Jessie on the front camera. There's that floral that's got the blue in it. It's very busy and scattered pattern, and so if something rips, it's not like you're going to see this huge seam.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Steven picked the hardest napkin for me to do, so just want to put that out there.
That was not intentional.
I know, I'm only kidding. It's going to be beautiful. But he's right. If you have something that has like a smaller print on it, here I'll show you on this one, there's some places where it's overlapping and it was kind of pieced together, but you really can't see that in the overall print because it's so busy and because there's so much going on. So that's a really simple one to do if you're Mod Podging onto something that's not flat like this pumpkin. Okay, so I'm just going in and I'm putting Mod Podge under the edges that don't have Mod Podge. You see this one's peeking over napkin, so there's no Mod Podge under there because it's not touching the pumpkin. So I'm just pressing that down just with my brush.
And just like all of our other Mod Podge formulas, this goes on white and will dry clear.
Absolutely, yeah. It looks really milky and white right now, good point, but it'll dry crystal clear. You won't see any of the Mod Podge when you're done. You'll only see the napkin. So I'm just going into the corners there, making sure I'm using, I have Mod Podge on the top now, it's okay. That's really gonna help it. Oopsie, look, I just tore it. I was being way too aggressive. So that's what you wanna avoid, but it's easy to patch up. So I'm just gonna pull off the edges that I don't need, and then we'll just patch that up. But again, that's a good example of you don't wanna be rough. I started talking and I wasn't paying attention.
Do as we say, not as we do.
Exactly, but I mean, again, it happens, and this is good too, because now I can show you how to fix it. It is very, very easy to tear it, so it's a good lesson to see. I'm just getting some Mod Podge under there, making sure all my edges are sealed down. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do the other side. I don't need the whole thing, because you can see my napkin wrapped around more than half of the pumpkin, so I'm just gonna cut enough to cover it. So I'm gonna kind of eyeball it, because you can always trim it. I'm gonna cut off about one section, I should say.
Jessie, do you want to talk about the formula we're using a little bit again?
Yeah, I'd love to. So the formula we're using today is called Super Matte, and it is brand new this year. It is brand new to the Mod Podge family, and what I love so much about it is that when you apply it to your Mod Podge project, it looks like there's no Mod Podge on it at all. So even when you use our regular matte formula, it does look like it has a sealer on it. You can see a slight sheen. It looks like it's been sealed with something, and it's still really beautiful. It's still, of course, much matter than our other formulas, but this one, like, it actually disappears. It looks like there's no Mod Podge on it, like it's just your paper is on your project by magic or something. It is so beautiful. And another really great thing about this new Mod Podge Super Matte is that it works super well with our Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint. So if you guys are chalk painters and you just love that like chalky matte finish, but you also like to Mod Podge, this is a great formula to use to combine those two of those loves together, because you can add decoupage and Mod Podged elements to your project without erasing that really nice chalky matte finish. So you'll still get that with the Super Matte. So this is honestly probably one of my favorite Mod Podge formulas. I just love the way that it like is so discreet looking, I guess is a good word for it. It like is hidden. I just think it looks so beautiful when it's dry. So I'm super excited about this one.
Somebody asked where we got the napkin. We got this from just a local craft store. You can go in any kind of place that you normally buy art supplies or crafts, and they should have decorative napkins for you. And
you know what else, Steven? You know another really good place that sells like really pretty napkins always? Like TJ Maxx and Home Goods and Ross and like those kinds of places. they have, you know, a lot of seasonal stuff, but for some reason they always have like such, I think because they change them out so frequently, they always have such pretty and unique napkins. So if you guys are napkin collectors and you did not know about that, make sure to go check out like your local like home decor store, because they really always have like the most beautiful patterns.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, I love going there. Whenever I'm looking for like new napkins for a project, that's the first place I go, is like Home Goods or TJ Maxx. But of course, Target, Walmart, they always have really pretty ones too. Okay, so I'm just kind of going around the edges. I'm going underneath where I don't have Mod Podge, where my napkin is overlapping, and just kind of touching up these areas, making sure all of my napkin is laying down flat. I'm using my brush to gently brush it down. I don't want to tear it again. Okay, and again, Steven's right. It looks like kind of like a milky mess right now, but all that's going to dry clear. So, okay, so now we've got the majority of our pumpkin covered. The bottom, you can't really see as much, but I am going to show you how to cover up. Look, yeah, I kind of already covered it up with some of the napkin. I do want to show you how to treat the top though. So for the top, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut up. I have my last piece of napkin here. Again, the plies have been removed from all of these. You want to make sure to get rid of those 2 extra plies. I'm going to trim off that edge that we don't want. And then I want it to look natural. I don't want to just like put a big square over there. So I'm kind of going to cut some like roundish shapes to kind of like place around and like frame that stem. So I'm just going to eyeball it because it's really okay if it overlaps. That's actually good. It usually makes it look more seamless that way. But I'm just going to kind of cut some like round shapes, kind of like that, and sort of just puzzle them together up by the stem. We'll do some layering here to make sure that everything is covered.
Yeah, everybody really wants this purple napkin.
Well, I'm glad you guys like it so much. Steven picked well. But yeah, just in case you're just joining us, those are some of the most important tips for Mod Podging with napkins. You can really choose the formula of your choice. You can use outdoor, you can use dishwasher safe, you can use matte, satin, or gloss. Any of those formulas will work with napkins. And then you want to make sure you remove those plies. It is very important that you remove the extra 2 plies. So you only want that top printed ply, that top printed layer of your napkin. So those are really the most important things. I'm going to go ahead and make sure all of this is pressed down. And we're coming up on the last little bit. I'm just kind of eyeballing. You can see I'm doing lots of layering. So I'm just kind of eyeballing the shapes I need. Making sure I've got lots of Mod Podge down there so it'll stick. I'm going to make sure my brush stays wet because when your brush gets dry, that's when you're going to end up tearing your napkin by accident. Make sure my brush is nice and wet. And then I have one little piece there that I'm just going to cover up. Okay, so now I'm going to go over, oh, I got that little spot in the bottom. I'll go ahead and patch him up real quick. I'm just going to cut a little sliver of napkin. You can see how if you had like a more geometric pattern, this would be tricky. This would be really hard to get it to all line up. So when you're doing something round like this, I really do recommend like a more organic pattern. Like plaids and stripes and things like that are great napkins for decoupaging, but I would recommend doing those on like a more flat surface, like a sign or just something that's not round like this one. Oh, sorry, I keep putting it too close to me. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. Like Steven said, it was a good point. It looks milky now, but it's going to dry crystal clear just like the rest of our Mod Podge formulas. You won't see any of the Mod Podge once it's dry. I'm just going through, making sure my brush is nice and wet, and anywhere I see like a napkin hanging up or something, I'm just sort of tacking it down with my brush, making sure it's snug in all of these little crevices and all of the different bumps of our pumpkin. And I also want to put, one last coat of Mod Podge over the top. So gently, you want to coat it. Make sure your brush is wet the whole time because otherwise you can snag that napkin and accidentally pull it up. You want to be pretty liberal so that your brush doesn't, like I said, doesn't get dry and accidentally pull up the napkin. But I do want to coat the whole thing to make sure that it's protected and that I can use this pumpkin for many Halloweens to come without it getting torn and things like that. It'll be really durable once we coat this Mod Podge onto it. And again, you can see it's super white right now, but it will dry clear.
I know, I wish we had like a time lapse.
I know.
You know.
It's very satisfying to coat it though, I'm not gonna lie.
Do you know what formula the ones around you were done in?
Yeah, I want to say these are done in our regular matte formula. So this one, like I said, I'm using our brand new this year Super Matte, which has almost like a chalky, like matte sheen or lack thereof. It really works great with our Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint because it really has like zero finish. It looks like it's not even there once it's dry. And then our matte formula, which is still, you can see, very matte, but it does look like it has a sealer on it. I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like it's sealed, and there's like the teeniest bit of a sheen compared to our Super Matte, but
it's definitely not glossy.
No, by no means is it glossy. So those are the two different formulas I have up here right now. And of course, if you want your pumpkins to be shiny, you can definitely use gloss or kind of, you know, meet us in the middle and use the satin formula. That will work great too. It's just really your preference, which you like best, what look you like best for your pumpkins.
Yeah.
And then of course, if you're planning on keeping your pumpkins outside on your porch, you're gonna wanna use Mod Podge Outdoor for that, for sure.
Yeah, the outdoor will protect it from the elements, the UV rays, so you don't have your napkins fade on your pumpkin over time.
Definitely.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and you don't want it, you know, in direct rain and things like that, but like on a covered porch, it'll keep it safe from humidity and things like that. Okay, so you're right, Stephen. I wish that I had a time lapse so I could show you how great this is gonna look dry, but we'll photograph it and we'll post it up on social media so you guys can see. But that is how simple it is. You can see it's so easy and so fun to Mod Podge napkins onto pumpkins. You can get all these super fun prints and colors and get a really unique pumpkin that's super easy and quick to make. So I hope you guys had fun. Don't forget, you can purchase our Mod Podge Super Matte as well as our Mod Podge brushes on plaidonline.com. We're here every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Facebook for our Craft Break series, so make sure to check us out, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.